Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for attending today's technical assistance workshop for the community project grant. My name is Jude DeLuna. I'm one of the programs associates with the Arts Council for Long Beach, and I'm joined today by Lisa DeSmit, who is the Director of Programs. And we can go ahead and get started now that I think most people have trickled in. So we would first like to start with the land acknowledgement. So we recognize that we work on the unceded traditional and sacred lands of the Tongva, Kish, Akshman, and Chumash, and the many other indigenous groups who call these grounds home. We honor and extend our gratitude to all of the original people still living in this region. So before we get started, we'd like to go over some ground rules. We would like you to rename your video panel so that your first name and organization or social media handle shows in your name. The three dots in the top right-hand corner of your video panel will have this setting, as well as the participants list. You can click on your name, select more, and rename. We'd also like you to turn your video on as this helps create a good environment for small group discussions such as these. And remember to please place yourself on mute when you're not speaking to help minimize background noise and distractions. You could always use the chat to communicate with us if you need assistance, and reaction buttons as well if you're comfortable using them. And lastly, we have our captions located at the three dots on the bottom of the meeting. You can click captions and show captions, and that will be available for you. So the Arts Council for Long Beach mission is cultivating the physical, social, and economic characteristics of Long Beach neighborhoods by nurturing and enlivening the arts. We envision a thriving Long Beach that benefits from universal participation in the arts. For our overview, we serve individuals, groups, and organizations through advocacy, arts education, public art, and grant making within the city of Long Beach. We practice profound inclusion as a collaborator and convener for the benefit of all communities. For today's agenda, we will be first going over the annual grants programs. So that includes the Professional Artist Fellowship, the Operating 1 and 2 grant, and of course the Community Project grant. And then we'll also be going over how funds are dispersed, and then going over in detail the Community Project grant, including the eligibility, evaluation criteria, application steps, and artistic documentation. And then we'll be opening it up to a Q&A for everybody. So our grant programs include the annual grants, which is the Professional Artist Fellowship, the Community Project Grant, the Operating Grant 1, and Operating Grant 2. And for more information, if you are interested, you can go to our website, artslb.org/program/grants. We also have our quarterly microgrants. These microgrants include the project microgrants and the professional development microgrants. The project microgrants are for events that are free and open to the public, and the professional development microgrants are for artists who would like to attend workshops, and we cover about 50% of that fee. And if you're interested, you could also head on to our website, artslb.org/program/grants/microgrants. And then I'll turn it over to Lisa, who can talk about the community project grant.
Thank you, Jude. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth specifically about the community project grant. What is it? Who's eligible? And how to submit the application. So this is the upcoming cycle is for FY 25-26 community project grant cycle. And the purpose of the community project grant is for programs that support exemplary artistic, cultural, and arts educational projects of arts and cultural organizations in Long Beach, and this is through the Community Project Grant. The Arts Council for Long Beach partners with arts and cultural organizations. Next slide, please. So, in order to be eligible, arts, cultural, and historic organizations that are headquartered in Long Beach with a 501c3 nonprofit status who comply with the 4 requirements listed below. So you need to be based in Long Beach, headquartered in Long Beach, and have a 501c3, or you could be a non-incorporated organization headquartered in Long Beach with an approved fiscal sponsor who's either headquartered in LA, Los Angeles, LA County, or Orange County, and who complies with the following requirements. So the organization needs to have a minimum of 2 years of arts and or cultural programming experience in Long Beach. The organization needs to use qualified artists or professional artist administrators in the programming and planning and delivery, and needs to have confirmed programming with secured venues. And our fiscal year is October 1st, and this is for October 1st, 2025 through September 30th, 2026. So there needs to be confirmed programming during that time. The organization needs to use disciplines that include visual, performing, literary, audio, media arts, and or folk and traditional arts. So how do we determine funding? What does that process look like? So everybody's going to submit their application, and then the Arts Council staff is going to be reviewing all the applications and making sure that they're all eligible, the applications are complete, and everything's fully encompassed within the application. After we've reviewed and reached out to anybody that's not eligible, those applications that are eligible will go before a panel, and those panels take place in the summertime, in July and August. The panel will score the applications based on the criteria that we're going to show you. And then awards are merit-based, so determined on the highest average score between all panelists will be the ones that will receive funding. And so the amount is dependent on how many applications we receive, how many applications with high scores, etc. So it's really hard to say how much funding is going to be. It really depends on how many applications we get and what the quality of those applications are. So once those have been scored, then recommendations will be made to the allocations committee and the board of directors. The allocations committee will review all the scores and rankings and bring recommendations to the board of directors who will ratify the funding levels. And then all grants must be approved by the Arts Council's board of directors. So just to back up, the grant panel is an independent panel that is not comprised of staff. It's independent folks in the community who are experts in the field. And so we have a call for panelists right now. And so we're looking for qualified panelists who want to serve on these panels and help to score. So each panel is comprised of 4 community members and 1 board member. So they're making the scoring recommendations, and then everything goes through the allocations committee and board of directors to review. And then applicants are notified once the Arts Council receives our contract from the city of Long Beach. So if you think about our process, where applications are due in June, we have the panels in July and August. The city approves the budget usually in September. So we actually are allocating funds that we aren't even sure the city's going to approve yet. We don't have a contract yet. So folks won't hear back until probably November or February at the latest, depending on when we receive our contract from the city of Long Beach. So it's a little bit of a waiting period for the grant. So what does the scoring look like? When you're thinking about submitting your application, this is going to be reviewed by the panel. And so the scoring rubric is very important when you're submitting your application. So we did do a little bit of changes to our scoring this year. It used to be out of 10 points, but we've changed that of a total 100 points instead of 30. So for artistic merit, there's a total of 33 points possible. And so this is about the artistic quality of the programs and the artists and everybody that's is it innovative? Is there training and qualifications and experience? Is it creative? Is it unique? So that's going to be demonstrated highly in the artistic documentation that's submitted. in the bios of the staff and artists, things like that are where the panel is going to be getting the information to score. The next category is organization management, and that's 33 points. So is there formal artistic training or apprenticeship or practice in the discipline? Actually, I think that might be incorrect there. So I'll look at organization management and get back to you. And then the last score is community impact, and that's 34 points. Does this benefit the Long Beach community? The artistic personnel that it represents, is it diverse? Is there a diverse composition of the community and core audience? So does it align with, does the staff board align with the community that's being served? Is it diverse? So that's the last one, and so it's a total of 100 points. So what is in the application? What are you actually going to need to submit? So the organization profile is just basic information about the organization, address, etc., the organization's information. Then we'll ask for some narrative information. We'll ask for information on the organization's staff and artists. We'll ask for information about the board of directors, or if it's an organization that is fiscally sponsored, the steering committee members of the organization. We'll ask for the arts equity and cultural inclusion statement. We'll ask for the project budget. So keep in mind that this is a project grant. It's not an operating grant. So we are asking that you are submitting for a specific project that takes place in Long Beach. And so what is the budget for that project and what are the notes on that budget? We also ask for the most recent board of directors approved organizational budget. So we need to know what is the total organization budget in addition to the project budget. We also need an IRS tax determination letter, and so that would either be for the fiscal sponsor or for the organization if it has its own 501c3. If you are applying with a fiscal sponsor, we need to also see that there's some sort of fiscal sponsor agreement between the two, so we'll ask for that as well. And then we ask for letters of support if this is for an in-school programs only. So if the project is taking place in a school, we will ask for a letter of support from the school principal. And then we also ask for your artistic documentation and any marketing materials that go along with it. It's recommended that you submit documentation that represents something similar to the project you're proposing is usually recommended, but if you don't have that, just something that shows the general artistic practice within the organization. And then we also do ask that folks complete the data arts through the Cultural Data Project. So when you're filling out your budget, we do want to bring to attention what expenses are not eligible within the project budget. So we do not fund out-of-town travel or activity expenses. We do not fund capital expenditures. We do not fund fundraising events. We don't fund hospitality. We did change it to about 5% of the grant can go towards food or beverage. And then we don't fund trust or endowments. We don't fund ongoing debt reduction efforts or programs with religious or sectarian purposes that are part of religious services, or any expenses that are incurred before the start date of the grant period. So remember, our grant period is October 1st, 2025 through September 30th, 2026. And then obviously we don't fund any programs that aid any kind of political service or campaigns. We do also require that there's a dollar for dollar match for any application. And so it needs to be it can't be in kind, it has to be actual dollar match. And the only thing that you really can't match is other city funds. So it can be, if it's, say, a performance and you're selling tickets, it can be ticket sales can be the match. It can be grants from other organizations, county, that kind of stuff. It can be individual donations. All of that is eligible. Really, the only thing that's not eligible for the most part is other city funds. Next slide, please. Oh, actually, Jude's going to take over and talk a little bit about artistic documentation. And this is a very important part of your application. So please pay close attention on some tips and tricks on how to submit your artistic documentation.
Thank you, Lisa. So I'll go over the artistic documentation. For your work sample preparation, we would prefer the following. So all artistic documentation must be named in the following file format. So as an example, we would like last name, first name, underscore artistic documentation. For the community project grant, we would most likely want the organization name underscore artistic documentation. All artistic documentation must be submitted as one PDF file with embedded hyperlinks to videos and audio files if you have any. If you need any assistance with this, you can contact us for technical assistance at least 2 weeks before the application deadline. And please do not send any originals or for your artistic documentation. We would like copies of it in the PDF. For visual and audio samples, we'd like it so that you number the samples in the order they should be viewed slash listened to, and the order should be reflected on the index. And please always test your final work and hyperlinks before submitting. The panel will be reviewing it uh, a few months after submissions. And so we want to make sure that these links don't expire. So if you have links to any audio or video, they shouldn't be private as well. So make sure that it's public and it won't expire within a certain amount of time. So regarding video, you can provide an embedded hyperlink to any video sample, and the panelists will view up to 5 minutes. And this is strongly encouraged for dance, multidisciplinary media, theater, and traditional and folk art. For audio, please provide an embedded hyperlink to any audio sample, and it must be clearly labeled. And this is also up to 5 minutes. This is strongly encouraged for music and lists samples in this format. So number the files indicating the order in which they should be played and the title of the track with an embedded hyperlink. So explain any special instructions in the work sample sheet for each sample, such as start at 4 minutes and play 2 minutes. And we do have an example of an artistic documentation so that you could take a look at it here. This is a sample made by our other programs associate, Sergio. And so as you can see, it is all on a Google Doc. And this is free and accessible to anyone with a Google account. You can go to Google Drive and make a document. And the name is at the top as well as the title, FY26. You would put CPG artistic documentation. And the samples are clearly labeled. So this is sample one, this photograph, Sergio Alan Diaz, Try Not to Fall, Pick Yourself Up, 2020 digital photograph. And there's also an image description below. And then as I scroll down, there's sample two labeled and pictured below, and the title is at the top as well as the image description again. So that was for photographs. This sample three is an example of a video link. So this is the name of the video right here, and the video link leads to a YouTube link that is 5 minutes long, and there is a video description as well. And sample four is a podcast on Spotify, which is titled and linked here. There are playback instructions. So start at minute 4:30 and play for 3 minutes. And there is a description at the bottom as well. And for sample five, we have an example from a past grantee and their written work. There is a screenshot of the written work, but there is also a link to the work right here. So as you can see, it's all clearly labeled and numbered, as well as with the descriptions. So back uh, to the descriptions, the visual images should be up to 10 images only, and digital files should be submitted as a slide deck presentation with one image per slide, including title, artist, organization, and date. And then you can save that PowerPoint presentation as a PDF. And file sizes should be no larger than 72 DPI and 5 megabytes or smaller. This is so that in our back end that the file isn't too big to receive. Publications are also strongly encouraged for literary and visual arts. And remember, samples should be saved as one PDF, which contains all artistic documentation. And you can submit a sample of your literary copy in a PDF as well. And then I'll turn it back over to Lisa.
Thank you, Jude. I also placed a copy of the example that Jude was sharing here in the chat, so you feel free to download that to look at how to format various samples for the artistic documentation. And again, everything should be saved as a PDF when you submit it. So what's the grant timeline? So we opened up the applications in April. They've been open for a little while. We're doing our technical assistance now. And then the deadline is Friday, June 13th. So at 5 p.m., it's going to be cut off right at 5. So make sure you're getting it in well in advance. We recommend, at least 1 week ahead, just in case you run into any technical issues or have questions for staff so that we're available to answer those questions for you. The application is online on our website. I already put the link, but let's just put it again here. And then if there's any additional questions that you have, our staff is here to help you. We want to be as much of a help as possible. So please feel free to email us at grants@artslb.org. And we also have some links on our website if you want to book a meeting with us to check in about your application or any questions that you may have. But the quickest way to get a response is to email us at grants@artslb.org. And then here's our individual contact information if you would like to contact any one of us. But again, we're all checking the grants email, so that's probably the quickest way to get a response from all of us. And we're here to help. So if you have any questions, we'd like to open it up to any questions at this point. Feel free to raise your hand or type a question in the chat. I see Marlita has a question if you'd like to.
Yeah, thank you. I have gone to the application and am working offline. And one of the reasons I'm working offline, besides it's easier, is that I noticed at this time it said it won't save during the process. Now, last time you could save and go back and save and go back. So is it truly the case that one and done? No
Correct.
saving during the
Yeah,
process?
we've
Okay.
switched our platform that we're using for submissions. So the previous platform, although it did allow the save and continue, people did have a lot of issues with their artistic documentation attached. So we've switched to a different platform. So what we recommend, like you just said offline, having a Google Doc with all the questions, and then you can just simply copy and paste so that it can be done in one sitting. So yes, that's correct. You will
Okay.
not be able to save your application. So we do
Great.
recommend creating a Google Doc with all of the questions, and then you can just copy and paste.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, I have the application shared on screen right now. And if you look at the top here, we do have a Google Doc linked so that it'll lead to a copy of the application just on a Google Doc. So if you'd like to share or if you'd like to save your answers on here and then transfer it over when you're ready here, then that'll be a way you can save.
Ernest, I see you have your hand up. I think you're on mute. We can't hear you.
Okay, how you doing? Um,
Good.
and thanks for the overview. The question regarding nonprofit versus, for example, if you're not a nonprofit or a corporation, but you have a nonprofit that is your fiscal receiver, can you make the application? Or do you have to be a nonprofit?
You do not need to be a nonprofit, but you do need to be an organization headquartered in Long Beach that has a nonprofit fiscal sponsor relationship with an organization that's either in LA or Orange County. And so you do need to be an arts or cultural organization headquartered in Long Beach. So you don't have to have your 501(c)(3. You can apply with a fiscal sponsor, but this grant is really intended for Long Beach based arts and cultural organizations.
Okay, so that's arts and cultural based organizations. But for example, again, just to clarify a little bit more, drill down on it. If a project is arts oriented, so to speak, and you're not a nonprofit, but you're based in Long Beach, can you have a fiscal receiver that's in Los Angeles County, for example?
The fiscal receiver can be in outside of Long Beach, but you do need to be primarily an arts or cultural or historic organization. So
Okay,
this is not intended, this grant is not intended for nonprofits or organizations whose primary mission is not focused on arts and culture. We have very limited funding, so the funding is really intended for Long Beach-based organizations that are either arts, cultural, or historic organizations as their primary mission. Um, Although we would love to fund, you know, organizations that have other missions that are community-based organizations. Because arts funding is so limited, we are primarily focusing on arts, cultural, and historic organizations here in Long
okay.
Beach.
All right, that clarifies it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Rico, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. Um, Everything that was presented in the PowerPoint, can we see that same information online with the Arts Council grant process?
Yeah, so we recorded this, and so we will be putting it up on our YouTube channel and linking to the on the grants pages as well once that's up.
Okay, will that be a recording and or a transcript or just a recording?
Um, well, it's the video recording of the presentation. We could put up the slides as well. We haven't done that yet, but if that's a request that people would like, we can put the slides up online as well.
That would be nice if you could.
Yeah, of course.
And you said that would be on a YouTube location link?
So if you go to the grants pages, so
Mhm.
let's say you wanted it specifically for community projects, we'll be putting it on the community projects grant page
Okay,
specifically. And there's also a
excellent.
technical assistance page, so likely we'll put it in both places.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, yeah, we can do the slides as well.
Oh, one more question, if I might.
Yes,
The there's a match, right? Did you say there was a match? 1-to-1 match?
correct. Yes.
Okay. Now, I don't want to date myself, but I'll ask the question anyway. Is it all cash? I mean, like ticket sales, other grants, but is it can it be, or is it, or can you submit a percentage of that in terms of professional services that you could hire, but somebody's donating pro bono as a value?
We don't accept in-kind matches. It has to
Okay.
be a dollar for dollar cash match.
Okay.
So that, and typically, I said earlier, we don't know how much the funding is.
Mhm.
Typically, I would say on the lowest end, we won't generally award anything less than $1,000. Um, the highest is usually about 5,000. Keeping in mind that we do usually get percent for arts funding. We are always trying to get additional sources of funding to supplement the city funding because it's really not a lot of funding that we get. It's
Right.
190,000 for all of our grant programs, which is fellows, operating, community projects. So it's a very small, that's been the same same amount for the last 10 years. So we are trying to get, other funding sources like NEA to supplement it, percent for arts. So even though the max is usually about 5,000, we do sometimes get additional funding for, say, percent for arts, but you don't find that out until around the summertime. So it might be a little bit more than that. I would say around 6,000 is the most that folks have received from this grant. So the range is like between 1 and 6,000. So that would
Okay.
be the amount that you would need to think about for the cash match.
Okay. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Rika?
Yeah, I had another question. Um, will any, as far as you can see, will any Washington policies affect this grant cycle?
That's a really great question. I know that we have in the past received NEA funding. All of that at this point is kind of up in the air for a lot of organizations. So it may most likely will impact if there's additional funding. We don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't anticipate that for this grant cycle it will be impacted, but again, the city has not passed the budget yet. So really, we're going to find out when in September when the city passes their budget. And so if they're making budget cuts across the board, there's always a possibility that that could happen as well. Hopefully not, but um, you know, we don't know what's going to happen.
We'll keep our eyes open, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Again, we're here if something comes up after and you think, oh, shoot, I should have asked this question, or if you need help suddenly when you're submitting your application, please reach out to us. I also have my link to book a meeting on the website as well. So if you want some additional assistance, you can also use that as well. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks.